to do?
I was asking Judge, me and my kids homeless because of Josie. The apartment wasn't livable for us to stay in. We didn't have running water. I had hose in the apartment.
All right.
The electricity wasn't working.
Okay. The time to tell me that was on May 8th.
I didn't know I had a court date.
Yes, you did.
No, the paper was stuck on my door. They never served me the papers. When I went there to move on May the 24th, the paper was stuck on my door. I called Bill and asked Bill, he's like, I've been to the apartment 3 times looking for you to serve you the papers, so I stuck him on the door. I'd be like, Josie had my correct phone number. I don't know why she didn't give it to you. Me and her talk every other time about what's going on. So when the court date comes, she politely gave y'all the wrong number. That's the reason I put my correct number on a piece of paper. That's how I ended up missing my court date, because I didn't know nothing about it. I just talked to Keystone in April. Keystone asked me, Josie just called me, want to know when you moving out the apartment. I told Keystone I'll be gone by May 27th. I'll be there on 24th to try to move the rest of my stuff because I just had heart surgery. Josie knew that. So I got there on the 24th, and that's when I found all the papers on my door. And that's when I took the procedure to call Bill, come up to the courthouse and ask what's going on. If you ask the ladies out here in the office, I come to them in April and ask them, did Josie file any papers to take to court? Because I kind of figured she was going to get them the wrong information. And the woman checked. She like, ain't nothing been filed yet. And it was in April. And then all of a sudden May came, and I got a court date that I didn't know nothing about. And then when I get it off the door, it got the wrong number on it. But she had my number back here last year in April when I changed phones. I gave her the number to put on file. Me and her been talking on this number, even with Keystone.
Okay, all right. Well, they're not asking for any money damages. And
it wasn't no damage. All the damage was already there when I moved in. And that's why we're here today.
All right. Lance, why we're here is because I entered this default with service by attachment on May 8th. He wasn't personally served. I was under the understanding that he had vacated, and I allowed 10 days. So I did a default without having personal service. So he's here to complain about it, but there's nothing to do about it. He's gone. He's homeless, but he's not asking for any money damages. The time to appeal is passed, but arguably the default should not have entered on May 8th for a move out date of May 18th because we didn't have personal service. He's mad at Josie and he makes some allegations about what happened, but I can't undo any of that. So if and when the complex does ask for damages, we can address all of his issues.
I want to ask for damages too.
Well, if you want to sue for damages, you have to file a small claims action.
I got that. I'm in process of doing that now, getting Josie and the landlord. The maintenance man right now.
All right, well, we'll deal with that at that time. But there's nothing I can do for you.
I was asking for at least part of my rent back. Because
you can't do it in this forum.
Okay.
For one thing, well, some of it's my own damn fault. I did a default judgment on the representation that you were gone, but I didn't have personal service. I should have reset it for another hearing 7 days away. So this is what I get. So as Mr. Thornton says, he couldn't figure out what you wanted, and he objects to the hearing. If you ask in small claims court for money damages, we can have a hearing. He can't represent them in small claims court. He could remove the matter to the general division of the court. But at this point, I got all this urgent stuff, and I didn't know what it meant.
That's why I attached pictures. I showed the evidence, how my apartment was when we moved in. I'm waiting on both reports from the city inspector out of Sturgis. When I first went to Josie with the issue, Josie told me the city inspector has inspected the apartment. Right after I left Josie.
All right. we're getting ahead of ourselves. If you're gonna file a claim for money damages, you can do it in small claims court.
Okay.
But this case is done. You're gone. It was a possession judgment case.
Yeah, and I don't want it. Mainly, I don't want it on my record.
But you had 10 days to move to set the default aside. The default entered on May 8th. You didn't file the motion to set it aside until May 31st.
I ain't know nothing about it until the 24th when I got there to remove the rest of my stuff. That's when I found everything on the door. I called Bill, who put it on there, told him I just got there. He told me I came there 3 times looking for you. I looked through the window and he said the apartment manager, Josie, told me you stayed there. And when I looked in the window, it didn't look like nobody stayed there. I'm like, no, me and my kids ain't been there in like 9 months. She know we ain't been there in like 9 months because we couldn't take showers. You know, there's a lot of issues wrong with it when we moved in.
So you hadn't been in the apartment for 9 months.
For 9 months. And she knew this.
Well, yeah, she said it was vacated.
That because we ain't had running water, Your Honor. We ain't had running water. She wouldn't do nothing to fix it. When I complained to her about it, this was Josie's words to me. She like, I can't do nothing to the maintenance man about it because I'll lose my job.
Well, so was somebody paying rent during those 9 months?
Yes.
Who was paying the rent?
Keystone. They got every month of their rent while I wasn't staying there. And she knew this. Keystone knew this. And she would not fix the apartment.
Your Honor, that's incorrect from my knowledge, and Josie could testify that one of the reasons Mr. Terry was evicted and given in his termination of tenancy was done was due to the fact that Vista Meadows does not want to work with Keystone anymore because they weren't paying his rent and other rent for other tenants that they had agreed to pay. So that's an issue.
Keystone paid all their rent.
Now, Mr. Terry, this is a court hearing. Okay. We don't interrupt each other.
Yes,
let him finish. Josie, will you come in? All I've got is your screen picture and your microphone is muted.
Yeah, absolutely. Keystone does still owe me money for several different tenants that I am housing for them, and I have told them that I am no longer working with them. We have decided not to work with them.
Did Keystone pay Mr. Terry's rent? Did Keystone pay Mr. Terry's rent?
They still owe me the past 4 months. No, they still owe me the past 4 months.
Which would mean they paid 5 months while the apartment was empty?
Correct. And I did notify Keystone that I thought that the apartment was vacant. And I have emails from Anita saying that she's gone over there and she's also spoken to Mr. Terry. And she said that he told her that he was still living in the apartment. So they continued to pay the rent on it.
Well, he says and they are going because there was no running water.
And Keystone came and proved that.
I know Anita was there back in March to do a check on him because I asked her to because I thought the apartment was vacant. And she said that he was living in the apartment.
Okay, we've established that. Was there running water in the apartment?
There was running water from my understanding. When we had a city inspection done as well back in February, that's one of the things that they check.
Hey,
and there was nothing on the inspection list that says that anything about non-running water.
All right. Well, this is in a strange posture. He's mad, and now he has an eviction on his record that he doesn't want to have. He got defaulted when I didn't have personal service. He also claims that the property didn't meet the basic covenant of habitability, and that someone else was paying rent for an apartment that wasn't livable. But in the meantime, it's a termination of tenancy case and he's out of it. Keystone might have standing to sue for rent that they paid for a non-habitable apartment, but they're not a party to this. So this is in a strange posture, and I should not have allowed the default. because he was sort of there, but sort of not. But yeah, you had said he had not been there for months. And I'm conscious of each apartment complex having a waiting list. And when these apartments are just sitting there in legal limbo, it's important to get them turned around and back into service. So, Mr. Terry, I've accepted your pleadings, but I'm not granting a motion to set aside the default, which I'll treat it as. You've certainly got cause for a different kind of action for money damages, but I'm not awarding attorney fees for Mr. Thornton for being here today because this is a mess. And he was in on it when we did the default without having personal service. Plus, no one's been under oath here. Everything everybody said is he said, she said. But if you want to file a further action for money damages, you can do that and we'll address it further. But you vacated the premises, you've turned in the keys. There's no reason to set aside the default. But this does put an eviction on your record, which I think causes you some legitimate concern. I would suggest perhaps you try to get some assistance from legal aid or some other service.
So you telling me, Judge, nothing can be done about staying somewhere.
Well, you can sue them for money damages.
Where it's one livable to live in. And to this day,
I'm telling you, it can't be done in this case.
Okay.
You can file a case. You can sue for
when she mentioned the city inspector come out last year, told them to fix my water, fix everything in there. When the inspector walked out my apartment, they walked out with him. That's how they left my apartment in the pictures I gave you. So I went to again to ask her to come and do it.
All right. I got it.
He come back the second time.
All right, stop. You're not under oath.
Okay.
This isn't testimony. This isn't a hearing regarding that. I'm not unwilling to hear it.
But I just don't want it on my record for me stopping me from getting another house.
Well, that's a problem. So I may have to set this for an evidentiary hearing regarding the motion to set aside the default rather than this emergency hearing, because I understood that you were trying not to get evicted.
I told her.
Will you stop interrupting me?
Yes, sir.
The lawyers don't do that.
Yes, sir.
Again, she was not under oath, but on May 8th, she represented that you had vacated the premises and the apartment was empty. That is maybe partially accurate. You contend that the apartment wasn't habitable. You've got witnesses you wish to call, the city inspector, Anita Harper from Keystone. According to her, Keystone paid 5 of the 9 months. You weren't there. And this leaves you with an eviction, which makes it impossible for you to get subsidized housing somewhere else. So it's important to you. So, Mr. Thornton, what we have is a mess. The termination can stand, but I understand why he is objecting. Because he literally did not have notice. It was posted by attachment and he wasn't living there. Do you have anything to add to this?
Your Honor, I believe Keystone would end up testifying that they were in touch with Mr. Terry during the whole eviction process and were providing him with the notices and information. The court also first class mails the notice of hearing. So I cannot understand why Mr. Terry, unless he is not getting any mail whatsoever, did not have notice of this hearing due to his contact with Keystone and the court mailings.
everything the court sent me was to that address where I don't be at. And when I got there on the 24th, that's when I checked my mailbox and I found the letter y'all sending all over my door. And I proceeded to call Bruce, the one who put it on the door, and asked him what was going on. And he explained to me, you had a court date. I'm like, and this ain't my number. I'm like, she knew my right number. She didn't talk to me. He like, it was kind of odd because I come there 3 times to serve you the papers. And I looked in the window and wasn't nobody never there. And I asked Josie, and Josie like, you just got to check, he'd be there. And she knew I don't. So basically she was sending him on somewhere that she knew I wasn't gonna be at.
Well, and then the reality of it is, even if I had set it for a second hearing, he wouldn't have found it till the 26th. If I set it for a hearing, if I continued it from the 8th to the 15th, he still wouldn't have had notice. So it may be moot because he never checked his mail or came to the apartment. So it was posted sometime before May 8th, and he didn't go there until May 24th.
And the notices of hearing would have been mailed in early April.
Yes. All right. The motion to set aside the default is denied. All right. You can file further proceedings. May want to get assistance from legal aid, although you can't file a small claims case other than by your own name. I'll do an order. What is your current address?
Stay with my auntie, 902 3rd Street through
At that address, and any further correspondence will be to that. And you can file a small claims action for money damages or other issues. But again, Keystone might have a claim. They're paying your rent, but that's their money, not your money.
Yeah, and
So-
Keystone did tell me when they gave me the paper to bring up here, if you need to talk to them, they politely tell you the conversation and tell you what's going on between them and Jody. And Keystone called me 2 days ago and apologized to me, say, Miss Terry, I'm sorry for what's going on with you in them apartments. It's been like this ever since we was moving and we didn't get Josie the rent money, but we have paid them in full. And this was from Anita 2 days ago. And that's how I found out. Josie called Anita 2 days ago and asked for the inspection she did on the apartment. And Anita Flatfoot told me, she told Josie, it wasn't no inspection on Miss Terry's apartment. The only reason I went to Mr. Terry's apartment because you called me and told me it was a bad odor coming out of Mr. Terry's apartment. And when I got there, his apartment was clean. There wasn't no odor coming out of Mr. Terry's apartment. So I'm trying to figure out what was going on between you and Mr. Terry. And Anita say Josie didn't respond no more to her.
All right. Well, they're full of hearsay, not under oath, but your motion's denied. You can file a further action for money damages, but I'm sorry for the way this went. But in reality, you would have gotten the note. You weren't there. You didn't check your mail. You didn't go to the apartment. Even if I had continued it for 7 days, you still wouldn't have got the notice.
But,
In fact,
Your Honor,
stop. That's all. We're done.
can I say one more thing?
All right.
It was in April. Anita called me, say she just got the phone with Keystone.
All right. I don't need to know anymore. If we're going to have a hearing, we'll put people under oath. We'll take testimony from live witnesses. But I'm sorry the way this went down, but you vacated. They've got the apartment back. If you're going to ask for money, you can file an action in small claims.
Yeah, I got the paperwork. I'm doing the process on that now.
All right. You're good to go. Thank you.
So
Sorry.
what about the eviction on my record?
You're going to have to, I denied it. I'm going to send you an order. You weren't there. No one else can use the apartment. Someone else is paying your rent. They put a notice. He went there multiple times, put a notice on the door. We were told it was vacant. I issued the order on May 8th. You didn't go back to the apartment until May 26th. So if I would have set it for 7 days, it would have been May 12th, and the move out date would have been May 22nd. May 8th, it would have been May 15th. And the move out date would have been May 25th. But you didn't even go back there till May 26th. So it really didn't make any difference. So that motion is denied. If you can get some legal help, you can try to rebring it. But you didn't even, you just filed a bunch of paperwork. There's no pleading. You didn't file a motion to set aside the default. You just sent me a bunch of stuff. And Mr. Thornton and I couldn't even discern what it is. Now, you're not a lawyer.
No,
so
what I wrote on the paper to you, basically what I wrote, it was
stop. If you interrupt me one more time, I'm going to make you go wait out in the parking lot and I'll shout out to you. You're not a lawyer, so you didn't file a proper pleadings. I sent the emergency hearing and Mr. Thornton objected because it wasn't in a proper fashion. I heard what you had to say. I denied your motion. You can appeal that to the circuit court. And I'll send you the motion. But at this point, the eviction is going to be on your record unless you take some further action. But you're good to go.
So I just lose everything, right? When you got the evidence in front of you.
Now, when the lawyers are here and I make a ruling, they don't say, hey, we didn't like your ruling. You can appeal it and you can file an action.
But that's kind of hard to see when you got proof they doing wrong. And they doing wrong to innocent people, handicapped people. I'm a handicap. And you letting them do wrong. I ain't had no knowledge about no court date or nothing. You see that it wasn't filed in April, it was filed in March. I called them in April. Should I go to the desk and get proof from them? Because I did call them. And they told me when none filed with the court in April at the desk, Your Honor.
You can file another action and you can appeal this.
Okay. That's what I want to do. What I got to do to get the paperwork?
I'll go out to the counter. You could use some legal help. Josie?
Yes.
You're free to go.
Okay.
I'm disappointed that you hid behind your screen picture through the whole thing, but this was probably uncomfortable for you as it was for us.
Your Honor, it's honestly because I'm not in my office. That's why.
All right. Lance, I'm sorry for the way this all went. Mr. Terry, you as well. See if there's further proceedings in it.
Okay.
All right.
Please subscribe to help the channel.